with American jobs for our security.
Gentleman, you're exactly right. These are about American jobs going overseas and American tax dollars going overseas and American earned income. Because as I mentioned earlier, you're digging deeper into your wallet, taking out, instead of a $20 bill to fill up with gas, taking out a $100 bill. Well, Americans know what they could do with the rest of that money, the difference there. And I get a little passionate about this issue, and I apologize to the ladies here in the chamber that have to record what I say. But I'm not alone in this. America is passionate about this as well because they know we have the resources here, and they know we could be energy independent, and we wouldn't be giving money to Middle Eastern countries who a lot of times don't like us, maybe as well as the Canadians and other countries closer to home like us. But I spouted off some things about federal land and state land in North Dakota and Montana a minute ago. So let me just tell you, in 2000, federal oil production accounted for 32% of the total U.S. energy production. In 2010, after 2 years of the job-destroying Obama administration policies that I mentioned earlier, federal production only accounts for 19% of the total U.S. oil production. That's an 11% decrease. And when I think about the year 2000, I think about some of our friends on the other side of the building and John Kerry and some of these guys that said, you know what? If we decided to drill today and open up new lease areas and do energy exploration, whether it's the Outer Continental Shelf, it won't have any effect on the price of the pump for Americans because it takes about 10 years for that to come online and start producing oil. But, hey guys, that was 10 years ago. What impact would those policies of drilling in ANWR or off the Outer Continental Shelf or more onshore production, what impact would that have had on the price you pay at the pump today? I think we've got to get serious about American energy exploration and production here. And the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. We need to take that step today. And I'll tell you, the House Republicans have done that with numerous job-creating energy production bills that have passed out of this chamber that are languishing in the abyss known as the United States Senate that's failed to pass a budget for our country in 1,036 days, who failed to take up American energy independence bills, job-creating bills that we've passed out of this chamber. So energy production's down on federal lands, and Obama administration is taking credit for increased production and saying we've opened up new offshore areas. But, you know, the data I have says there's less offshore acreage open for energy exploration and production now than when President Obama took office, when nearly 100% of the Outer Continental Shelf was opened up under the Bush administration. They lifted the moratorium for energy exploration, let alone production. Now listen, I served for 18 months on what was known then under the Mineral and Mining Services of the Department of Interior, the OCS, or Outer Continental Shelf 5-year Planning Subcommittee, where we looked at the next 5-year plan for this country on what areas we were going to open up offshore and what areas were available for us to even talk about were small grid squares in the western Gulf of Mexico, nothing in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, nothing in the Atlantic Ocean, nothing off the coast of California, nothing off the coast of Alaska except for another small square. And this was prior to the latter years of the Bush administration when he decided, you know what, American energy independence means we need to open up the Outer Continental Shelf and really see what's out there and begin energy production. But the 5-year plan we looked at these grid squares, and we were going to recommend a lease sale where we were going to offer leases to those areas to the energy companies so they could go out there and explore and produce those resources. Well, the Obama administration has taken a lot of that off the table. They haven't created a new 5-year plan. They're going to say they just came out with a new one, but I believe it's just all for looks. The total onshore acreage, I was talking about offshore, but the total onshore acreage leased under the Obama administration in 2009, 2010 is the lowest in over 2 decades. We're not talking about ultra-deep, horizon accident type offshore production.
Well, gentlemen, yield on that point because,
I will, yes, sir.
You know, again, going back to a speech given recently by this administration, by this president, he said at the University of Miami that we have record oil production, that he's actually leading us out of this energy crisis.
Energy production might be up in this country, but it has nothing to do with the policies of this administration. It goes back to the previous administration that said, you know what, we're going to open up Bakken because the Geological Survey found a ton of oil reserves there. And in your home state, the oil shale in the Rocky Mountains, Colorado, could be the next Saudi Arabia. if we would allow onshore production for oil shale in the Rocky Mountains. I know the gentleman from Colorado probably wants to talk about the oil shales of Colorado.
Well, I absolutely do. In fact, I'd not only talk about the oil shales of Colorado, but this entire country where we actually are home. The United States is home to 6 times